submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the hearing, we'll conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we'll vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of the decision can sign the sheet at the table by the north doors. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for each of the applications is as follows. After each application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then all others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. I will ask that all testimony be kept brief, no more than 5 minutes, and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject's property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay and secondhand information, as well as any slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all the properties and will record, and the record will reflect their observations. Any person affected by the administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. On my left is Larry Crawford, Fred Gallerup, Bob Wadle. I am Joe Piaski, I'm the vice chair, and Terry Puckstedt is our zoning administrator. Okay. And I guess we'll call the meeting to order and the public hearing on the applications. And our first application is for the staff comments of White River Massage. It's conditional use, White River Massage LLC, Watoma. Rosalind Phillips, owner. Jocelyn Carter, landowner, has made application for conditional use in accordance with Section 58-236, Parent B, Parent 4, and 58-544, Parent 7, the Wilshire County Zoning Code to establish massage therapy studio as home occupation, utilizing a portion of existing single-family dwelling in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreland area. The location is a parcel of land known as Lot 109 of Lake Alpine Plat, being part of the southeast one quarter of the southeast one quarter, Section 4, Town of Marion, Lake Alpine, N 2155 22nd Avenue. Is the applicant here? Want to come up?
My name is Rosalind Phillips. I'm the one applying for massage therapy.
You tell us a little bit about the project, what you're going to do?
I'm going to be working part-time out of my home, which is what I stated, doing massage.
We have some questions for you.
Sure.
Could you describe your proposed business in more detail?
I'm not going to be working full-time. The hours I'm going to be working more are going to be Monday and Tuesdays in the afternoon. So at the most I'll have 2 clients on Monday and Tuesdays. Wednesday and Thursday I'll take up to 4 clients. And on Friday I will only take 2 in the morning because I work another job besides. And Saturday is just 1 or 2, not all day. So at the most I'll have 4 people coming in one day on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay. You currently operate the same business on South White River Road, is that correct?
Yes.
Will there be any employees outside the immediate family, yourself, I suspect?
No. There's a...
Okay. What sort of traffic will there be and what sort of parking will you need? And is it adequate as you see it now at your place?
Yeah, there's a nice turnaround in the driveway, so they won't have to back out onto traffic. And as far as any congestion, there shouldn't be because I usually give a half hour in between my massages, so people have time to sit and talk and then get themselves together and leave. So it gives me time to get ready too.
Okay. Is an advertising sign planned?
I planned a spot for one in case I needed one. It's not going to be too close to the road. It's going to be on this, I think I have it on the description I had. It's by the second set of trees, like in the middle of the yard. So it's not going to be too close, and it won't block any view of anybody leaving or entering.
Do you have any idea of the dimensions of that sign?
It's not going to be very big. As big as I would probably want would be 36 square inches, I think.
Are you aware of the state building codes and other state requirements, and will they all be met?
Yes, I called to make sure that everything I had there was going to be okay. As far as I didn't have to have a ramp, but I do have a ramp for people that are handicapped. I didn't have to worry about anything special for the bathroom, but there is adequate room for somebody to use the bathroom and able to get up if they have any kind of disability. And the hallways are wide enough for a wheelchair to get down.
And so you mentioned bathrooms, sort of sanitary facilities. Are they just the in-home facilities that
Yes.
are there currently?
Yep.
Okay. Are any additions or other buildings planned beyond what you have indicated on the site plan?
No.
Will all activities be inside and no business taking place or products sold outside?
I'm not selling any products. I don't plan on it. The only thing I do is I do travel to other people's houses if they're not able to come. As of right now, I do have a stroke victim that I go to her house and do massage out of her house.
And the question here is, are you planning a new driveway? But what you have and what we observed when we were there is going
No.
to be adequate for your
Yeah,
purpose.
it will be.
Has there been a recent survey on that property?
No, not that I know of.
Do you know where your lot lines are?
Yes, they're marked.
If an approval is granted, when would you start doing business at this location?
As soon as you say I can.
That's all the questions I have.
Anybody else have any? Okay, you can take a seat then. Any correspondence?
There's no correspondence on this application, and no one registered to speak either.
Okay. And I guess we can go on to staff comments.
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and all the other applications that they will consider tonight. I'd like to explain just a little bit about conditional use permits. All of our defined zones have uses that are permitted outright, and then some are permitted provided that certain conditions are met, and that's where the title conditional use comes in. What they're looking for is a use that may be permitted, provided that certain parameters can be complied with, so the use remains in keeping with the surrounding land uses and the residential area in this case. So in some counties, these permits are called special exception permits, and that makes it a little easier for people to understand. It's the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone that it's in and the area that it's proposed for, and that any conditions that they've stated will ensure it'll be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted the driveway has room for parking and a turnaround area is present. The vegetation should be kept clear at the driveway entrance to maintain good visibility down that road. And the existing home's exterior should not be altered with this proposal, and that there was room for a sign. And just so you know, the maximum size of a sign here is 32 square feet, so 3 by 3 is well within that. And that's it.
Okay, we've rebuttal by the applicant. If you have anything you want to add? Okay, then we'll move on to our second one, which is a zone change. And it's Joseph and Della Alvarez, Franksville, Wisconsin, made the application for zone change in accordance with section 58-131 through 138 and 58-451 of the Washera County zoning code from a AG5 general agricultural 5-acre minimum to AG3 general agricultural 3-acre minimum for the purpose of creating 2 lots ranging in size from 4.98 to 5.0 acres. The location is approximate 9.98 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 and certified survey map number 5970, being part of the northwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter, Section 13, Town of Deerfield, N 3820 12th Avenue. Is the applicant here? Come up. Can you tell
I'm
us a
Della
little bit about the
Alvarez.
application? State your name and give us a little bit about the application.
I'm Della Alvarez, and the application that we proposed is to rezone it from A5 to A3. The reason why we want this is because we have 2 children, and for future inheritance purposes, we'd like to have it rezoned. There is no plans at this time to build anything on the front lot, and because it came up to like 4.98 or something like that. If in the future one of the kids wanted to build something, they couldn't because it's zone 5A. So the reason why we asked if we could rezone it is because the parcels north of us is zone 3, and then A1 is down the road.
Okay. We have some committee questions for you.
Okay.
Has there been any preliminary soil work done?
Any preliminary, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand you. Preliminary what?
Soils work.
Yes. We had Fargo come out.
Will there be a new lot path for the mound? Will the new lot path for mound or a better septic system?
It did.
Any other deed restrictions planned?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you planning on a second driveway?
No, the way it was surveyed, we had Mo surveyed the parcel, and the way he surveyed it was that because it runs pretty long, it's a long parcel, the driveway that exists now will serve both plots.
Are there any other similar lots of this size in the area?
Well, the one right next to us is a 10-acre parcel.
Have you reviewed the possible proposal with the township and the planning commission?
With Deerfield, yes, we have. We attended a meeting, I want to say August 9th, and we met with the Deerfield Town Board, and they did approve it.
Are you aware of the surveying requirements?
Yes, and we have had that done already.
Have you considered other lot configurations? The map that was submitted has a different configuration than most land divisions.
When Mo came out, he did 2 different ones, and we talked to him before we met with the Deerfield Township, and we all sort of came up with that idea because the division is a little bit more equal that way. Where the other way, one of them ended up like 3 point something, and the other one was over 5. So this one that we submitted, the plots are similar as far as acreage.
Are you aware of the uniform property address requirements?
I'm not sure about that.
Well, for the address fire numbers,
Well, we have one now.
and you probably have to have another one.
Well, once they would build on that other lot, then they would get one of those. So just so you're aware, would
Okay,
get
for
another fire
future.
number.
Okay.
If an approval is granted, when would the certified survey map be done?
Well, it's already completed. We would just have to submit the hard copy, is my understanding. And we have that hard copy.
That's all I have.
Okay, you can take a seat.
All right, thank you.
Is there any correspondence?
Yes, we have one letter from the town of Deerfield, received on September 14th. It says, "Dear Sirs, regarding the Alvarez's zone change request, the Deerfield Town Board has followed procedure to this request. The Alvarez's approached the board and asked to speak at the regular meeting. The request was noted in the regular meeting notice and posted in 3 public places. The zoning issue was listed on the agenda for the August 9th, 2011 meeting. See enclosed agenda. Ed Stelmakowski, Deerfield Planning Committee Chairman, was in attendance at the August meeting. The item was discussed and unanimously voted in favor of changing their zoning status from AG5 to AG3 based on the facts that one parcel is only short 2/10 of an acre and AG3 acres are currently right next to the property. See attached meeting minutes. The board supports this change from AG5 to AG3. That's signed sincerely Thomas A. Whaley, Chairman, and Cheryl Pianki, Clerk. And they do have attached their agenda and all the meeting minutes. So that's it for correspondence, and no one registered to speak.
Staff comments.
Again, the committees received all the paperwork, and they did go out and visit the site. I'd like to explain just a little bit about zone changes. They're different from the last one in that they're a 3-step process. The Planning and Zoning Committee looks at it first, and if it's approved by this committee, then it would go to the full county board, and if it's approved there, then it goes to the township, and it needs to be approved at all 3 places before it becomes final. A lot of times there's concern about spot zoning. You know, you don't change one lot if it's the only one in the whole area that happens to have that zoning. But this would not be spot zoning because there is AG3 to the north of this parcel, as the applicant stated. And again, we have information from the town chairman that they are going through the change for their land use plan, which is another requirement because you can't make decisions that aren't in compliance with a town's land use plan. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the area has room for another driveway if needed, but that's not going to be necessary anymore because they're going to share. The current home has a mound system, and the proposed lot configuration seems a little odd because it zigzags around and has some key things. You know, and they could consider making it a little more uneven and better lot lines if they wanted to, because you would have the ability to go down to AG3. And that's it.
Okay, is there any chance or anything applicant would like to say, rebuttal? Any of this? Okay. And we'll close the public hearing portion of the Planning and Zoning Committee, and we'll go to the next room behind us over here, and we'll have our business meeting over there.
It simply needs to be clear, to specify clear lines.
I'll call this meeting with Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Planning and Zoning Committee. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. Anyone other than the applicant or representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct its monthly meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information on appeals is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I'll introduce the rest of the committee. To my left are Larry Tim, Kevin Fitzgerald, John Benz, and George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner. First variance to be considered tonight, Ryan Joint Revocable Trust, Plymouth, Wisconsin, has made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B and paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 8x32 one-story addition and a 22 by 12-foot attached garage, along with interior alterations to an existing one-story single-family dwelling, cumulative improvements exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming structure. Non-conforming due to side lot setback, coming to within 21 feet of the right-of-way of South Pearl Lake Road, 30-foot setback required in RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location lots A and B, Block 1 of Leona Grove Plat, being part of the southwest one quarter, the southeast one quarter, Section 30, Town of Leon, Pearl Lake, W4662 South Pearl Lake Road. Applicant or agent here? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Good evening, all. I'm Mark Ryan. I'm the owner of the property.
Okay, Mark. Anything further to add at this time? Otherwise, we've got some general questions for you.
One thing to add, Roger, or actually take away, is the plan that you have in front of you includes a garage. We met with Rick earlier in the week and gave him a different plan that actually has the 8x32-foot addition but eliminates the garage.
Okay.
And I think that you have it in front of you.
But does that make the addition 8 by 44?
That's correct, actually.
So we would need to amend the application,
Correct. We're
8 by 44 addition with no garage.
correct.
I just did the math and figured that out.
Okay. Anything else at this time?
Happy to answer your questions.
Has there been a recent survey out there?
There was a survey done in 2006 in conjunction with the installation of the septic system, and a previous one with the purchase of the property.
Okay, are you sure the lot lines, or have you found the stakes, or are they still there?
The stakes are still there.
Okay. Have you talked to your neighbors about this?
I have.
Okay. They are in accordance with your plans, or do they have any objections, or?
Nope, there aren't any objections. One shouldn't. She's my sister to the east. The other to the west is a good neighbor we've known quite well and have done all this in conjunction with his own planning that was recently a new home built on the property.
You've done some previous additions or work out there in the past, is that correct?
We bought the property in 2005. It's a summer cottage. We put a new roof on and a outdoor deck that was screened in, along with some steps down to the lake. We put in a new well. We put in a septic system, and have done some general cleanup and upkeep of the property.
With eliminating the garage, there'll still be a need for setback to the road, correct?
I'm not sure.
I think the setback to the road is okay by eliminating the garage. We still have the side setback, certainly.
Okay.
The only thing I'm confused about is there's a portico shown on the easterly door, and now you're going to have a westerly door.
That's
Both of those have those little covered,
Correct.
porches.
That's
And
correct.
will that also meet the road setback?
I don't know that.
Well, I think by taking off Yeah, by taking off the garage, I think you had 9 feet to work with.
That extension will be less than that,
Right.
but I didn't know the 9 feet. You're ahead of
I
me.
mean, because if we're at 21 and we go back at least 9 feet,
Mhm.
but we were going back further than whatever that was, you know, for the porch, I thought.
We'll be going back 12 feet, I believe. Taking off a 22-foot, well, no, that's not right. Taking off a 22-foot garage, you're taking off 14 feet of it. Because as you mentioned, the building is 8 feet there.
Right, but if we come out 6 with those covered porches, we're
Right.
still okay, because that's at
It's another
20,
6.
yeah.
They're not, the ones that's there now is not 6 feet though.
No,
It's only
but I
like
think-
3 feet or
I think the
something.
site plan shows these as 6 by 6.
Okay.
Right?
I think that's correct. The intent is a slightly larger one than the one that's there, mostly for rain and snow protection.
So it's really only a 3-foot overhang.
Yep, I think it meets it. Okay.
Do you have any plans?
Terry, on the plan I have here, it's 6 feet from the old wall, and then he has the porch only 3 feet out from the new addition, according to the plan I have.
The door is a 3-foot door.
The door's a 3-foot door, but
When I look at the one with the garage, it shows 6 by 6.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
the 3 feet indicator, I think, is the size of the door opening.
Okay.
all right.
Roger, other questions?
How do you plan on dealing with potential erosion or stormwater runoff?
I'm not sure how you're asking that, Roger. Regarding the extension or during construction?
During construction and after, do you expect to be any problem with erosion?
I really don't, Roger. I think the property right now drains very well. We're a very long distance away from the lake, and it's a heavily treed and brush on the pathway down to the lake. I don't expect any concerns there. Certainly during construction, if there's anything that's needed from the standpoint of silt fence or hay bales or whatever the case may be, that'll be taken care of by my contractor.
What type of foundation, or will this have a basement?
The intent is to turn this cottage into a year-round home, so we are putting a basement in under the addition.
Okay.
The intent is concrete floors, poured walls. That's where the furnace and other utilities will go. I think that answered your question.
Approximately what's going to be the elevation of the first floor? Do you plan on bringing in a lot of fill and raising this, or?
No, the house will stay at its exact height.
Okay.
We're going to excavate underneath, put the basement in.
And do you plan on raise the roof line, and what will the finished height be?
The roof is not going to be raised. It'll simply be a slightly less steep of a pitch over the new section. So the peak will basically be the same,
Okay.
and it'll just change not the total elevation, but the pitch.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
Other than the general interior and exterior that were mentioned, again, the intent here is to make it a year-round home. We're going to insulate, put new siding on. There's going to be some stone and brick on the side along the lower level. So general improvements, but nothing significant beyond what's on the application.
Will the septic system be upgraded or replaced?
No, the septic system, when it was put in, was built for a year-round 4-bedroom home, and we're not anywhere near that, even with what we're doing here.
Will there be enough room for parking in the front area there yet, or from the roadside, or?
Part of the reason we're eliminating the garage is it wasn't really in concert with the neighborhood properties. It would stick out quite a bit even if you granted a variance, and it just didn't seem to fit quite right. So our intent is to leave that driveway just as it is. It has room right now to park 3 vehicles, and at some point in time, many years down the future, if we were to move here and my kids were to be in the neighborhood, our intent was to build a garage on the other side of the property, the east side.
Will you have enough room for a turnaround, or will you be backing out onto the road yet, or?
There's not enough room for turnaround. There isn't today, and there won't be with the new design.
We noted the boathouse and small patio area down by the lake. Do you plan on altering or removing either of those?
No.
What are the hardships or unique property limitations which would support this variance?
I think the unique property is the fact that the building is there today, and we're trying to turn it into a year-round home without obviously tearing it down and starting over. We're trying to protect some of the nuances of the cottage life on the lake, obviously. And I'm not certain, to be honest, Roger, that I describe it as a hardship as much as it is a desire to try and maintain the integrity of the community.
Are there any other non-conforming structures on the property now?
Not that I'm aware of.
And if an approval were granted, when is your timetable for building?
Our intent is to start this fall. We're targeting the first week of October for excavation to begin. Roughly a 3 to 4 month window for completion of the project.
Any other committee questions at this time? Okay. Thank you,
Thanks
Mark.
all.
Any correspondence?
No correspondence and no one registered to speak.
Staff comments?
Again, for the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and all the other applications they will be considering tonight. And then they visited all the properties and viewed the proposals at their location on site. I'd like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. And the decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include an unnecessary hardship is being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards. And if the variance is granted, no harm would be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It's the applicant's responsibility to present the case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, nearby violations, convenience cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. Sorry. When the board visited the property, they noted that the boathouse and patio along the shoreline are non-conforming. They also noted the portico entries may be proposed, and they had questions about the pitch of the roof on the new addition, but I think those were answered. In this case, we are dealing with an addition to an existing cottage that is too close to the side lot line. Water quality issues do not appear to be a major concern with construction taking place so far from the lake and a new septic system that was installed in 2005. For the record, that system was sized for a 3-bedroom home, not a 4, so it's sized for 3. This maybe just a little. This comes down to safety along the public road and protecting the integrity of the neighborhood. It is within the board's purview to grant this variance if conditions are met, and if they do grant the request, they can require any mitigation that they feel is fitting for this application. That's it for my comments.
Okay, the next variance to be considered, Gilbert and Susan Stefanides, Big Bend, Wisconsin, and made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B, paragraph 2 of the Waushare County Zoning Code to construct a 14-foot by 27-foot two-story addition on a basement along with interior alterations to an existing one-story, single-family dwelling exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming structure, non-conforming due to side lot and water setback in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location: an approximate .24 acre parcel of land known as the north 56.5 feet of Lot 1 of Clay Mound subdivision, now known as Lot 2 and Outlot 1 of Certified Survey Map 1588, being part of the southwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter, Section 16, Town of Mount Morris, Morris Lake, N3935 Arden Drive. Applicant present. State your name for the record, please.
I'm Gilbert Stephanides, owner of the property.
Okay, Gilbert. Anything you'd like to add at this time?
When I met with the town board and the committee here on Tuesday, I asked them if I could make it a 15-foot by 27-foot addition, and they said that should probably be no problem. The reason being, you just want the extra foot to add to make the one bedroom a little larger, and there was it's right next to the garage. I didn't know what the zoning code would be for a firewall, and they said either way I'd probably have to have a firewall, because it would be, instead of 5 feet from the garage, it was 6 feet from the garage, it would be 5 feet from the garage now. We are not planning on connecting the garage.
So instead of a 14 by 27 two-story, you want to amend it to a 15 by 27.
Correct, that is the only change.
Okay. Again, a few general questions then. Has there been a recent survey there?
Not that I'm aware of. The last survey was by Mo's Land Survey in 2001 when I bought the property.
Okay, have you located the stakes or anything, or are they still there?
Yes,
So all the lot lines are still
correct.
staked? Have you talked to your neighbors about this project?
Correct. You have a letter in front of you, and both my adjoining neighbors have signed it.
Okay. Do you understand why the structure is considered non-conforming and why your lot is considered non-conforming?
Yes.
Okay.
And the narrowness of the lot, and there's nowhere else to go.
Okay. Plans on how to deal with erosion and stormwater during and after construction, is that going to be a problem there?
No, we talked with the committee, and in the last 30 years, there's been no problem. And adding the 14 by 27 foot addition, the rain gutters will actually be going away from the property, away from the lakefront, and it should be probably less erosion than what there already is.
Okay. What type of foundation, or will this have a full basement under it?
We're planning on a 7-foot basement. They said that we have to stay 16 inches above the water line. There are 3 7-foot basements on the same road, so we're planning a 7-foot basement. As the applicant before, the same thing, to put the furnace in there, the water heater, just the utilities.
Okay. And again, will the first floor elevation remain about the same, or you don't plan on doing a lot of filling there?
No, correct, correct.
And what will your finished height be? You'll be under the 35 foot.
Oh, easily. The peak of the new addition right now is at 26 feet, at the most 27 feet, yes.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No.
Okay. Again, have you given any consideration to revegetating the shoreline?
Yes, we talked to the committee, and I told them I'll conform with whatever environmental services or DNR would want. I have a natural frontage now, and there's no planted vegetation. I have 4 trees in the front yard now, and there's roots everywhere. In fact, there's roots in my former septic tank now that we just had to grind out. a month ago, and we plan on upgrading a new septic system to accommodate the 4 bedrooms. And Lura has already been out and drew a plan, and it has been submitted.
Okay. Have you given any thought to removing the existing deck?
No, sir. There was a variance for that in 1983, I believe, and both neighbors on each side have the same deck. Mine is maybe a foot farther out than mine on the north. And the deck is rather small, so there's really nowhere else to go to have a deck.
This is on a private road, correct?
Correct.
Have you any soils work done, or is there room for a new septic system if the need would arise?
Yes, a new septic system is going in no matter what. I own the acre in back of my property. I sold 80 feet of that acre to my existing south neighbor because he needed to put in a new septic system. He had nowhere to go with it, so I sold him the 80 feet to put a new septic system in. And I think the perk will be the same, so there should be no trouble with a gravity septic system. But as I told the committee, if Lure thinks I need a pump or anything, whatever it needs, I want to do it right.
And what are the real hardships, or what's unique property limitations that would support this variance?
Unique property limitations are that the lot is only 56 feet wide, and the only true addition really could be away from the lake to the back of the house. You cannot go to either side, and the only other way would be to go up.
And do you have a timetable for construction, or?
Right now, the plan is I have Mike Subcheck, and he planned on starting April 1st and completing it by Memorial Day by June 1st of next year. I have a second builder giving me a quote, Stan Soltis from Pine Ridge Builders. I haven't chose a builder yet. Neither one has given me a complete bid yet because they were really waiting to see if I get the permits.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? I don't have to hang around anymore?
Yeah, I'll just stick around a while.
Thank you.
Correspondence?
Yes, we have the letter that Mr. Stefanidis mentioned. Gilbert and Susan Stefanidis are putting a 14 by 26 addition to their cottage. There are 3 variances that are needed. Variance, the addition will conform to the house and remains 8.5 to 9 feet off the north lot line. Number 2 variance, the addition will cost approximately $45,000, which is more than 50% of the value of the cottage of $65,000. And number 3 variance, a new septic system will be put in and the drain pipe will run under the private road back to the leach bed from the south border. We are in agreement with this proposal, and it's signed South neighbor Steve and Kara Waddell, North neighbor Dennis and Carol Seeley. And there's phone numbers there. And we also received a email from Michael Wenholtz from DNR, and it was addressed to me. Terry, I'm writing to provide comments regarding the Stefanidis, DeVrind, and Henke property variance requests that are to be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments Thursday, September 15th, 2011. Thank you for your time and assistance in discussing this request. I am providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and/or read before the BOA. Stefanidis, if the Board of Adjustments finds the applicant has provided appropriate reasoning to support a variance, the department has no comment. And then it says, thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Stefanidis, DeVrind, and Henke property variance request. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email. And that was signed Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources. And that's it for correspondence, and no one registered to speak.
Staff comments?
One thing I should point out right away, and Mr. Stefanidis alluded to it, this lot is only 56 feet wide, and we did not put in the notice that it's also a non-conforming lot. That's something that we missed, and I didn't notice it till we were out there that day. So something that that you should be aware of and probably note in the minutes, because we did kind of miss it. So that's another variance request, is to exceed the 50% of a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot. When the board visited the property, they noted that the existing cottage is non-conforming. It is 4 feet closer than what an average would allow should he tear down and start over. The deck is too close to the ordinary high water mark of the lake, but was previously granted a variance in 1980, is what my records say. And the addition is fairly substantial. The lot would benefit from a stormwater management plan and an enhanced vegetative buffer along the shoreline. This variance must meet the same standards as the previous one. You know, we have those 3 steps for all of them. And as far as my comments go, you know, we are adding on to an existing non-conforming cottage that is too close to the water and too close to one side lot line. Again, we're just 4 feet closer than what a new cottage could be placed, and the deck was previously granted a variance. This is a case where the board must weigh all the facts and use their best judgment in deciding the outcome of this request. Does it make sense to completely relocate the home 4 feet further from the lake and possibly further from the side lot line? You know, can he even do that on a non-conforming lot? Is there something that could mitigate the new construction? Maybe remove the deck or revegetate the shoreline. Addressing stormwater runoff from the home in addition is a very good idea. Is there an advantage in this case in not tearing down and rebuilding on a site where the net gain in water setback is just 4 feet? You know, what makes the most sense for this situation on this site? And that's what the board must weigh and decide, along with all the nonconformities and site conditions present. And then, of course, come up with proper mitigation measures that fit the site and the proposal plan, should they choose to approve the application. That's it for my comments.
Have anything in rebuttal or anything else to say?
I guess the only thing I have to say is, you know, about moving the house, or, you know, I can't move the property lines. It's only 56 feet wide. I'm 9 feet from one property line. I'm only 15 feet from the other property line. There's just really nowhere else to go, and that's the only rebuttal I really have.
Okay, thank you. Next variance to be considered, Mike and Linda DeVerne, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County zoning code to replace a mansard roof with a gabled roof and construct a 8 by 30 foot covered open porch along with interior alterations to an existing 2-story single-family dwelling, cumulative improvements exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming structure, non-conforming due to both side lot lines, road and water setbacks in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, an approximate .235 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 4814, being part of the southwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter, Section 6, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, N2124, State Road 73. Applicant present?
Hi, my name's Jed Wise. I applied on behalf of Mike and Linda DeVren.
Do you have the spelling of your last name?
W-I-S-E.
Anything further to add at this time, or?
Not for me, sir.
Okay. A few general questions then. Again, has there been a recent survey out there, or are you sure of the road right away?
The most recent survey, to my knowledge, was when they purchased the property, and I believe that was 96. I don't know anything more than that.
Do you know if there's stakes that are visible or anything, or lot line stakes or anything?
I couldn't find any stakes, but I mean, we weren't extending the house beyond what it is now. So, I mean, that's kind of why we haven't really addressed the property lines, other than to show what we thought they were to the, I know they were really, really close on one side, was roughly like 5 feet.
Okay, have you talked to the DOT at all about this project?
No, we haven't.
Have you talked to the neighbors about this?
Yes.
And what was their response?
Both neighbors on each side were in favor of the renovations to the house.
Do you know why the structure is considered non-conforming?
Yes, sir.
Do you know about when previous additions were done?
1976, they added a second story to this property, and that's what made what we wanted to do go beyond the 50% of the value of the home now.
Any changes to the foundation or the first floor?
No.
And they're sturdy enough to support?
Yeah, they do have an adequate grade beam floating slab foundation that did not show any signs of what we've seen of any cracks or any wear, so.
Any filling or grading planned with the landscape?
No.
And what will the finished height of this be when you're done about?
To my knowledge, right now, we were gonna put a 612 pitch on it, and that should make it around 22 to 23 feet.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No.
Have you thought about revegetating the shoreline out there?
We've discussed it, and if it was needed, it wouldn't be something we'd be against.
Considered removing the deck on the lakeside?
I think they have not considered removing the deck. That's something they enjoy having there.
Is there a balcony planned for that second story on the lakeside?
Yes.
Is that going to have a roof itself, or?
The plan showed a roof, and we discussed that we'd have to amend the variance and get more in depth with the DNR by having the covered roof over the balcony. So what we decided to do is just keep that as a dormer within the roof line of the existing house and not cover the porch now, and just stick with the kind of the 5-foot catwalk thing to accommodate the door they want to add up above.
Is there enough room for parking or a turnaround there to prevent backing out onto the roadway?
Yes, there is one now, yeah.
What are the hardships and unique property limitations that would support a variance?
Well, I think that because it's non-conforming on all sides, if they were to try to tear it down and make it conforming, they'd not have a house. So they want to improve what they have now, which is going to enable us to, there's no way to manage runoff right now with the style of the roof, so that's kind of one thing I think would be an advantage to this. And then it'd be an aesthetic change that would be good, because everything is kind of rotting on the house right now, and we'd be able to actually direct that runoff water, like I was saying, to the road other than to the lake where it's going now. So.
And if an approval were granted, what kind of timetable are you on for construction?
Well, as soon as we could get our building permits, within the next couple of weeks, we'd be looking at starting, and then we'd be shooting at finishing roughly the beginning or middle of November.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
Yeah, so you just would get the look of a peak where the balcony is going to be without extending over the top of it. So.
Are all the windows on the top going to be replaced?
Yes.
Yeah, have to be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Correspondence? You have something, Larry?
I was just gonna say, if Mr. Stefanidis says, once you leave, when his hearing is over, yes, before we can leave.
Oh, yeah, you could go if you, unless you want to stay to hear the decision. Yes, we do have correspondence. We have a letter received September 14th. Regarding the DeVryn variance, to whom it may concern, we would be in favor to have the Washera County Zoning Board approve the variance for Mike and Linda DeVryn, and that's signed sincerely, Charlie Plock. Well, it's actually Charles, C-H-A-R-L-E-S, and P-L-A-C-H.
CH.
And then we have one received September 9th. We, Mike and Linda DeVryn at N2124 Highway 73, are planning on changes to the exterior of our house. We need a new roof and siding and plan to remove the sides that have roof on and replace it with siding, and in turn making the house look a little different. We are putting a new roof on and porch. We have presented our changes to the neighbors and they are fine with our improvements. They have signed below with no objections. And obviously this was written by the DeVryns, and then it was signed by Robert and Barbara Voss at, I have N2110 State Road 73, Gordon and Judith Boyk, B-O-E-C-K, at N2118 State Road 73, and then Robert Stevens and Harriet Polzine of N2132 State Road 73. And then we have the email again from the DNR. And I'm not going to read the first part, I'm just going to read the part that relates to the DeVryns. While replacing a failing roof is certainly understandable, the department does not agree with the further exceedance of the 50% rule of a non-conforming structure for a covered porch. It is my understanding the entire 50% allowance was used up in a previous addition to the property. The department does not believe appropriate reasoning is provided in the application to warrant a variance. However, if the BOA believes appropriate reasoning to support a variance has been made, the department suggests the proposed gutters and downspouts be directed away from the lake, as well as other shoreline mitigation measures such as creation and maintenance of vegetative buffers to the county's approval be included as conditions of granting the variance. And again, that was signed by Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources. And that's it for correspondence, and no one registered.
Staff comments?
I have some. I just have to find them. Once again, we're dealing with a variance, which is a relaxation of dimensional standards in the code. When the board visited the property, they noted that the attached deck does not meet the water setback as well as the home. There would be not a great increase in impervious surfaces over what is there already. And the roof does appear to have major problems and may actually be leaking. So there was some issues that they did note with that. This variance is to add on to an existing non-conforming cottage that is too close to the water, exactly like the last one. And the amazing thing to me was if they tore it down and rebuilt it to meet the water setback, they would move back the same 4 feet that the last one would. I had to double check because I was having a deja vu moment. So everything would move back 4 feet with a new home. And obviously the deck does not meet water setbacks either. So this is kind of the same as the last one. They have to weigh all of the factors that come into making a decision such as this. You know, does it make sense to completely relocate the home 4 feet further back and yet put it closer to the state highway, which they don't meet that setback either? Is there something that can mitigate the reconstruction of the roof and the addition of the porch? You know, is removing the deck appropriate? Is revegetating the shoreline appropriate? Is there an advantage in not tearing down and rebuilding on a site where the net gain is just 4 feet? It's kind of exactly the same as the last one, and the board needs to try to decide what makes sense on this site. That's it for my comments.
Have anything in rebuttal or?
The DNR doesn't agree with the covered porch on the roadside, is that the, okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Next variance, John and Julie Matthews, New Berlin, Wisconsin, made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2, and section 58-826, paragraph B, the Washera County Zoning Code to construct an approximate 48 by 46 two-story, single-family dwelling with a walkout basement, including a 24 by 45 attached deck, and a 6 by 24 breezeway, and a 24 by 38 attached garage. Existing single-family dwelling and attached garage to be raised, coming to within 7.5 feet both of the northerly and southerly side lot lines, 15-foot setback required, and to within 42 feet of the center line of South Silver Lake Road, 53.5 average setback required in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land known as Lot 27 of Oakwood Beach subdivision, being part of the northeast one quarter, the southwest one quarter, Section 8, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, W6798, South Silver Lake Road. And would you state your name, please?
Yes, I'm John Matthews, the owner.
Okay.
When we bought this place in 2003, we didn't intend to do anything other than spruce it up a little bit, and we had it inspected, and we thought we'd bought a place that was going to be good for about 50 years. Well, the inspector was wrong. It's not one of your inspectors. This was just like the guy you hire when you're buying a place. It doesn't have a foundation, and it was built by a wonderful, well-intentioned grandpa who didn't have a lot of construction background, and it's just settling, and it's settling at different paces. So some of it has settled faster, so the roof line is starting to kind of be rough, and then there are parts of it that have settled to the point where the dirt on the outside is higher than the floor itself. And so you can imagine what happens with storms like the one we had a week or so ago. It's literally rotting in place. So where the walls come down and sit on the pad, it's rotting. And so I thought we'd be able to fix it. Had a builder take a look at it. Turns out that it'll cost more to fix it than to tear it down and start over. So what we have here is a design of a new cottage that the intention was to essentially keep the same impermeable surface, but to try to improve how it sits a little bit on the lot to be able to achieve this variance. So it's about the same width as the current one in a little bit. It gives a little bit of room to the north, gets a little bit further away from the lot line to the north. And then we move a little bit further away from the road. We have plenty of distance to the 75-foot ordinary watermark, so that isn't an issue. And then the additional space comes from taking it to 2 stories over part of it. So the footprint is essentially the same, but we move a little bit closer to the lake and a little bit in on the side.
Okay. Just some general questions then. Has there been a recent survey out there?
Yes, Cryer surveying just a month or so ago.
Okay. You're sure where the road right-of-way is?
Yes.
Have you talked to the township about this?
No, I have not.
Talked to your neighbors about the project?
I talked to the neighbors to the north generally about it and told them what we were looking at. They're brand new. They've just been on the lake. I guess they've been there a year. The neighbors to the south have been there. Well, the senior neighbors have been there for a long time, and I've talked actually for years with them about it. They just sold it to one of their kids, and I have not gotten to talk to the younger folks who bought it, who are the offspring of the original owners. But I had talked to the original owners for years.
Okay, what type of foundation? This will have a walkout basement?
Yes, it'll be poured concrete with a walkout on the lakeside.
How far above existing grade will the first floor elevation be?
The first floor will be about, well, that's part of the problem we have right now is it's sitting too low. So it'll be about a foot higher than the current just because it's just sitting way too low and we have huge water issues.
And about what will the finished height be?
About 22.
What will the second story of the attached garage be used for?
No intention to use it for anything, actually. Just, it'll be open with rafters, and maybe we'll throw some stuff up there. We don't intend to finish it or anything.
Used for storage then?
Yeah, just storage, not living space or anything like that.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No.
All of their setbacks will be met?
Yes.
How about parking? Do you have enough room for parking there, or enough room for a turnaround?
Not enough room for a turnaround, but plenty for parking.
Have you considered revegetating the area down by the water?
It's, we have a hill that goes down. The 75-foot mark is right at the base of the hill. So it's flat all the way out, about 75 feet flat out to the lake that is primarily just weeds. We've never planted grass or anything in there. So there's a natural beach on the lake, but there's a long flat area out to the lake, and there's no runoff that ever gets anywhere near the lake shore.
Okay, what are the hardships and unique property limitations that would support the variance?
The hardship is actually the placement of the hill. So if you think about this lot, you can see it's long and narrow. It drops off, right? If we were going to meet the variance from the center line, and we were going to build in a kind of a rectangular to fit on that lot, a rectangular structure to fit on that lot that was 15 feet from the lot lines on both sides, we'd literally be building in air over that hill that drops off. So there's just, because of the hill, you can't do an oblong that goes toward the lake because of the hill. So we'd literally we'd have a place hanging out way over the lake, and plus that would disturb the neighbor's view of the lake to be able to do that. So it's kind of pick which is the more acceptable variance. But I don't even think it's constructible, frankly, because we'd be clear out over that hill. And it's a fairly steep grade on that hill.
Are there any other non-conforming structures on the property?
Nope.
And what kind of timetable of construction are you on?
With approval, we would tear down the current cabin probably in November and pour and build over the winter.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
Notice you did have a fairly good-sized tree down by the water, so evidently the water doesn't really affect the growth of anything down there where you have a lot of sand.
That one tree you see marked on the lot line? That's right kind of in the center of the lot. Yeah, that's about halfway up the hill, and it's a pine that lost a big chunk a couple weeks ago. We think it's going to be okay. That's part of whatever the deck we'd build. We won't get close enough to need to take that tree out. It's a gorgeous tree. We want to keep that tree. And you also see on the southern lot line, right where the house would go, there's another pine that's marked there. We want to keep that one too. If it's possible to bring it in a little bit, we're going to ask our architect to bring it in far enough to be able to keep that tree too.
Also down by the water, was there existing tree down by the water, right almost to the water?
Right by the water?
Yeah.
There's a fairly new planting that our neighbors put there that exploded.
It's not
It
yours?
Went from like that to.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like smack right on the lot line based on the surveyor. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Correspondence?
We have no correspondence and no one registered to speak.
Staff comments?
Again, it's a variance for relaxation of dimensional standards, and it still has to meet those 3 steps. This time a new home is planned, and one that will meet the water setback but will not meet the side yard or roadway setbacks. The new home has been situated to be further from the road and the side lot lines than the existing cottage, which is definitely a plus. When the board visited the property, they noted that much of the vegetation on the lake side of the home will be removed if the new home is constructed as proposed. The lot is fairly steep on the lake side, and the existing dwelling is actually closer to the road and the northerly side lot line than the proposed home. That's it.
Okay. Next variance to be considered, Laurel Lutz, Toledo Revocable Trust, Edmond, Oklahoma, has made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2, and section 58-826, paragraph B of Washare County Zoning Code to construct an approximate 34 by 80 two-story single-family dwelling on a crawl space. Dimensions include a 24 by 26 attached garage and a 9 by 34 covered porch, existing single-family dwelling and detached garage to be raised, coming to within 11 feet of the northerly side lot line, 15-foot setback required, and to within 27 feet of the center line of Chicago Point Road, 63-foot setback required, in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreland area. Location on a parcel of land known as Lot 35 of Lakeview Point subdivision, being part of the northeast 1/4 and the northwest 1/4, Section 7, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, N2092, Chicago Point Road. Applicant present? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Laurel Lutz Slechta.
Okay. Anything further to add at this time?
No. It's just that no matter what, the house has to come down. And we will be building an all year round home. And as soon as we're able to sell our home in Oklahoma, we intend to become permanent residents.
Okay. Has there been a recent survey out there?
Yes.
And did you just purchase this recently, or?
No. My parents purchased the property, I believe it was 1972.
And when was the survey done?
There was one done in spring of 2010, and another one was done this spring.
Okay.
I believe it was June.
So you're sure of all the lot lines?
Oh, yeah.
And the road right-of-way also?
Yes.
Have you spoke to the township about this?
No.
Have you talked to your neighbors about this project?
Yes.
And their response?
The neighbor to the north is fine with it, and the neighbor to the south, I believe she is fine with it. She make no objection to it. She's been in on the planning for a while.
Okay. Will stormwater runoff and erosion be a concern of yours there, or was that?
Yeah, but hopefully we'll be able to handle it. We're planning on guttering the property. The runoff from the gutters will be drained below ground PVC with pop-ups strategically located along the property. I'm almost positive to the south we're going to be putting in French drains that will be draining towards the culvert by the road. And then on the north side, we will use French drains as well if we think it's going to be necessary, which it may be.
That culvert that's there, does that take the stormwater to an area in the wetland across the road?
I believe it does.
Okay. What type of foundation, or will this have a full basement?
No, 4-foot crawl. Because I am so low, I'm not going to push it.
And how far above existing grade will the first floor on this new building be?
I'm not sure about the first floor. I know that the total height will be 29 3/4.
Okay, I guess our concern is that, are you going to bring in a lot of fill and
Right. when the on-site was done in 2010, we talked about bringing the fill to the highest point on the front of the yard and not to, and then we're going to slowly angle it back towards the road.
Will it be the same height as your neighbor?
Not my neighbor to the south. No, she's much higher than I am.
Yeah. But
But yeah, pretty much, I'll be level with the neighbor to the north.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
Nah, no.
Okay. All of their setbacks will be met?
Yes.
Okay. Will there be enough room for parking off the town road?
Yes, I believe there is going to be at least 20 or more feet from the road to, that the kids can pull up.
We noted there were quite a few trees along the shoreline, but very little other vegetation on Sandy's site. Have you thought about revegetating the shoreline with anything else?
No, not the shoreline.
What are the hardships and unique property limitations that would support this variance?
Basically, the hill that is on the south side of the property, even though the lot is like 64 and a half feet at the widest spot, with that hill being there, that there's a lot of unbuildable property there, which also causes some water issues, which is why we're pushing the house as far over to the north as we can. Well, we're 15 feet off of the lot line to the south. And
Okay, you're going to be removing the old cottage and the concrete patio, is that correct?
no, the old cottage is being removed, and a portion of the concrete patio, except for 5 feet from the existing 5 feet from the house so where the house starts now is where my front porch is going to start, and the house will actually not start except 9 feet farther back than it is now. So there'll be 5 feet of concrete left in that existing patio.
there's a lot of 5-foot walkway.
Yeah,
That's going to be a 5-foot walkway.
you're going to use it as a walkway
Yes.
to get around the cottage?
Right.
The detached garage and the carport will come down though.
Yes.
Okay, and what kind of construction plans, timetable are you on?
The house is coming down on October 3rd, no matter what happens.
Especially with a tree on it.
Especially with the tree
Yeah.
sitting on it right now. The foundation hopefully will be in before the end of October. And after that, that's really going to depend on the builder and his schedule. If we have to, we'll tarp the foundation and do it in winter or spring. But we're going to keep going as long as the builder can go.
Pretty busy.
Pardon me?
They're pretty busy right now.
Yes.
You have a contract and everything set? Is that,
Pretty much so, yes.
any other committee questions? Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Correspondence?
Yes, we have one letter received via email on September 10th, and it's addressed to me. We are the neighbors to the north of Laurel Lutz Schlechter on Chicago Point Road and strongly support her request for a variance to build a new residence on the property. The dimensions of the home are not excessive, and the setbacks requested are not excessive given the size and shape of the lot. The current structure is old and would need extensive repairs. The new building would fit in with the newer styles and building constructions. Mary and I support the request for a variance, and it says, "Thank you, Mary and Jim Madden," which I believe are the neighbors to the north. That's M-A-D-D-E-N. And that's it.
Staff comments?
When the board visited the property, they noted the cottage with patio and garage with carport are all planned to be removed. They weren't aware about the 5-foot walkway. And if that meets code specifications, that would be allowed. This lot appears to collect water from the roadway and neighboring lots. There is a culvert on the north lot line that appears to divert water across the road to the wetland area to the west. And erosion control and stormwater management plans are probably necessary on this site because of that. They also noted that this lot and shoreline would benefit from planting additional understory vegetation along the shoreline. Other than that, I think the application is fairly straightforward. The applicant has presented to the board all the structures that will be removed and how they will construct a new home with attached garage on a rather small lot. The home will meet the water and one side yard setback, but will not meet the other side yard setback or the town road setback. I should also mention, because I don't think we have, is that that road is not in the middle of the right-of-way, and the blacktop actually comes out onto the applicant's property. Mitigation measures discussed should address the concerns mentioned during the testimony if they are considered for approval. That's it.
Okay, next variance to be considered, Randy and Chris Henke, Glencoe, Illinois, have made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-232, paragraph B, and 58-826, paragraph B of the and 58-235, paragraph B, and paragraph 2 of the Waushara County zoning code to construct a 26 by 28 foot detached garage coming to within 10 feet of the right-of-way of Chicago Point Road. 30-foot setback required. That is 24 foot in height, 18-foot maximum height limit required, and to resurface an existing 20 by 30 irregular deck exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming structure, non-conforming due to water and side lot setback in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land on the east shore of Lakeview Point subdivision, Lot 1 of certified survey map 733, and adjacent parcel less certified survey map number 1311, and part of the southwest 1/4, the southeast 1/4, Section 6, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, N1280 Chicago Point Road. The applicant present?
Yes. And I'd like to mention that the builder is also here.
Okay.
If there are any questions of him, correct?
Your name?
My name is Randy Hinke.
Okay.
The garage is obviously for additional storage. We use the place a lot, and in the winter with boats and other things in the garage, we park outside, so we'd like to have a place so we can come up here and park inside. The garage is under the 18-foot height, but because of the steepness of the lot, the foundation will stick out about, it varies from 6 to 7 feet depending on where you are across that back side, and we intend to put siding on it all the way down so it looks uniform and not a big foundation sticking out. And we moved as far as close to the house as we could to try to get as much setback as we possibly could. The deck's a different issue. When I went in to talk to planning about the garage, I said, oh, by the way, do I need a permit to do the deck? And that's through some investigation. Terry'd have to explain it to you. We find out that the deck had other issues when other variances were done, and it's non-conforming. And that's how we got on the whole thing. In 2008, I redecked the upper deck and put a screen porch on. The idea would be to redeck this with the same type material so it becomes less maintenance. It's right now painted where everything else is Trex. So the idea is to redeck it. There are some issues with it. We looked at a way to try to skinny it up, but there's a foundation, there's a big boulder, there's a bin wall underneath it, and obviously very mature shrubs around the edge of it. So it's access off the top deck, it's access off the bottom deck, it's access out of the yard, it's access to the boat dock, and it's access from the garage. So it's kind of a walkway is what we use it for.
Okay. Has there been a recent survey up there?
I had it surveyed in 2007. Jim Sayre, who's immediately to the south, is putting on addition. He had it surveyed, and the Shannons immediately to the north were here a couple months ago and started their work this week. They also had it surveyed. The stakes are all there, and I had lot lines staked out. I assume when you saw that when you went out there.
Okay, are you certain about the road right away?
Yes, we found the stakes. We ran the the lines across, and then I shortened that stake up so you go use the driveway. So we have the lot lines or the right-of-way staked properly, I believe. Yes.
Okay. Have you talked to the township and your neighbors about construction of the garage?
I have not talked to the township. I've talked a lot to the Shannons. They're the new neighbors now, and with him, I didn't get his contact information because of the storm and all the chaos that caused. Same thing with the Rosses, who are directly across the street. To the south is Jim Sayre and his wife, and there's a letter Terry has. And then to the kitty corner to the south is Beals. He also sent the letter in. And the only other neighbor there, I've only met once in the 4 years I've lived there, so I don't know them at all.
Okay. How do you plan on dealing with stormwater and potential erosion in this area?
Well, the deck shouldn't cause any erosion or issues at all. It's just, the idea is just to redeck it, not to change it or replace it. The garage, obviously, we'll have to put some type of during construction, but there is no issue there now. So and it's quite a ways back from the water to where that garage will be. It'll be a good 80 to 100 feet back from the water.
Is there enough room for maintenance of the road and turning around at this dead end?
Well, that's an issue. Right now, just before you get to our property, before you come by Beals, there's a turnaround. There's a loop in the road, and then it's kind of a single-lane road down to the Shannon property. And I know in talking to Mike, his intention is to put a gate in because he has all kinds of problems with people pulling in and parking and doing stuff. And because it hadn't been used for the last few years, there's a lot of people come up there and park. Well, on any given weekend, I'll bet you there's 50 to 75 cars using my driveway as the turnaround. So at some point, I'd like to talk to the town about putting up some type of dead end sign or something at that loop so people don't just drive. They get down there and got no place to go. So there is no real turnaround at the end of the road. The road, if you follow the road right away, the road right away narrows down as you get to Shannon's property.
What about road maintenance? Is there enough room for snowplows and whatnot to get in there? And
in all the time I've been there, the town snowplows have always stopped at Beals' property. I've always paid to have it plowed beyond to my property. The Rosses don't use it in the winter. I'll obviously be talking to Mike Shannon and seeing what he's planning on doing because they never plowed it up to our property, so I've always plowed it.
what type of foundation are you putting this new construction on?
Poured concrete.
Slab?
Well, yeah, it'll be a slab, but it'll have fairly high walls, those 6 or 7 foot walls,
Okay.
and then a poured floor.
How far above existing grade will the floor elevation be?
The floor elevation will be very similar to the existing garage, so that obviously the peaks and the roof lines look right. So it'll be very close to the existing grade of the existing garage. And my driveway drops off about 2.5 feet from the garage to the road. So at the far east corner, it'll be level with the existing garage, and then it'll taper off, and the driveway will have to be pitched to make it work.
And what's the finished height of the garage going to be?
From floor to the roof is 1710.
But on the back side where there's that slope?
We're going to be about 22 feet. But that is due to the fact that we're trying to keep the existing grade and the existing vegetation, trees. So we're going to side to the existing grade and just follow the contour of that lot as it falls off.
So you won't do any filling on that side of the garage, only on the road side where you'd have to?
Only a little bit on the road. I think that
Just up to the current grade. Now, on the east side, the house side of the proposed detached garage,
I'm going to ask you to
Leonard
come
should.
up and talk into the microphone, or we won't be able to hear any of this on the recording.
On the east side of the detached garage, which would be between the house and the proposed detached garage, we'll be retaining a walkway and then incorporating stairs to tie into the walkway that's running down the north side of the attached garage right now. And then on the west side of the proposed detached garage, we're going to follow the existing grade, side right to the grade, or 6 inches above, and then across the north back of the proposed garage the same way. That way, we don't have to worry about any retainage. You know, he could spend the money and put a retaining wall all the way around it 4 feet beyond, but there's no need to, and it would destroy a lot more vegetation and trees. We're trying to preserve as many trees as we can. I'm thinking we're going to be able to excavate this without taking any trees within 4 feet away from the foundation that we're going to put in the ground.
Will there be storage space under the floor of the garage on the high side?
No. It'll be filled. Concrete floor.
Concrete floor and give them storage underneath it, but he didn't want to do that.
Enough room for parking or turnaround without?
Well, there's room in my driveway right now to park about 6 cars, and
Not using garage.
not using the garage. That's just driveway. And again, because of the end of the road there, you have to use the road to turn in and out of it.
Well, the road right-of-way is supposed to be 66 feet, and that's where we ran into a situation, because from survey pen to survey pen across the street, it's only measuring 33 feet. So when we tried to do an averaging and get the detached garage to fit on the lot without a variance, because the property to the south, he's got a garage that's 2 feet off the property, or the street right-of-way pin. So when the street is that narrow, there was no way we could take the 66 feet and start averaging. The street's only 33, so we were in a catch-22 there.
Have you considered any other options for a garage or storage space?
I mean, at first we looked at attaching onto the existing garage, but that's even worse because as you go towards the lake, the grade gets steeper, so that would actually be even a higher, taller wall, and then to try to access to get around that, you'd have to build stairs down, around, and back up to get to the back of the lot and back to the deck.
So what are the hardships or unique property limitations that would support this?
Well, for the garage, it's obviously the steepness of the lot. In building it where it's least steep or less steep. And that then allows us to use the existing access along the north side back to the back of the lot. If we didn't, we'd have to loop all the way around the garage to be able to use the north side. For the deck, again, there's all this stuff underneath the deck.
Existing foundation from the home that was on the property before this home was constructed.
So there's the old foundation, I see there's a bin wall, there's a major boulder underneath that existing deck. And then there's full-grown vegetation all around it that would all have to be teared out and replanted.
So what's the hardship for the second garage?
Well,
More indoor storage.
I'm looking for additional storage to have a place to park cars when we're up here, particularly in the winter.
There really isn't enough room to support this, is there? To support another garage?
Well, I think you see in the plans what we show the location of it. My neighbor immediately to the south has a garage that's 2 foot off the property line, and the Beals across the street are 4 foot off the property line. We tried to place this in a place as far not the property line, the road right-of-way line, and we tried to place it back, so we managed to get it back 10 feet from the road right-of-way line, which is significantly further than my existing neighbors' houses or garages.
Now, probably what we should, and I might be speaking out of place here for Randy, but the current home, Randy did not build it. He bought it because he loved the location. And this home realistically doesn't feature a very favorable master suite on the first floor. And as we all age, he is also thinking that if I can get this detached garage, it could end up becoming my own garage if one of our health fails where we need to expand a first floor master suite. We could do it in the footprint of the current garage. We designed it to complement the existing home and attached garage. Match siding, roofing, and et cetera, so it'll look like it was built originally there.
Okay, let's talk about the deck that you want to refurbish.
We just basically want to resurface it. It's a painted wood deck that there's some boards rotting. 3 years back when we did the upper deck and screen porch enclosure with the roof, we used all of the Trex product on there, and Randy's just trying to get the place uniform and less maintenance. Still into his career, so we don't have a lot of time to take care of his home.
I mean, when I bought the place, sir, in the plat I got obviously showed that. I had no clue that it was non-conforming, and only through the fact that I've worked with planning numerous times on this place and my old place, and I went to them and say, what do I need to do to get this, what kind of permit? We looked it up, and that's when we stumbled on the fact that this was non-conforming from a 1989 submission by the previous owner. That's how we stumbled to it. We all kind of stumbled to it.
Have you considered any other options for access through the yard, such as a 5-foot walkway or anything like that?
I didn't put it in the handout, but yes, I've done a look at how. Well, first.
It's in your plan.
No, it's not. This isn't. That's hard to see, but the red line is all the obstructions underneath. That's part of the old foundation, part of that bin wall, and the big rock. So if you take that in consideration and then say, how much can I skinny it up and try to stay within it, that's what it looks like. So on this side, you could shorten it up 2 feet, which would take it from 8 feet to 6 feet. And on this side, because of the angle, and still trying to maintain a minimum 4-foot walkway down to the beach, you can only shorten this up about 3 feet, which still leaves this distance 7 feet. This distance is 5 now, this distance is 5 now, and this distance here is 7. So you could play with that, but again, this is all heavy vegetation, landscape. So, and it's a lot more expensive because it would have to be reframed and new footings put in. But if that's the only way I can get this walkway to become compliant, and that's what I want, because someday I might want to sell this, I want this to be compliant, then that's one option that could be done. So we have looked at that and how you could do that.
What's the hardship or unique property limitation that would support rebuilding the deck at this location that it's at?
Well, like I say, the struggle is that existing footing underneath and the rock and other things. I mean, it can all be blown out of there, I suppose, in one way or another.
I don't know how we get a backhoe down there without destroying a lot of trees and et cetera, and it is definitely, it's an old stone foundation. So access
And
would
again,
be very tough to excavate that out.
I guess the question is, I'd have to really work with Terry to figure out how you got that exactly compliant, because we got the 5 foot, we got the 5 foot. This is only 6 foot now. This can be drawn, and that's far enough back. This could be drawn in, like I say, 2 feet, and this could be drawn in about 3 feet, but you still don't get fully compliant. You're still, and if I pull this in, then I'd have to put some type of major jog in here to try to maintain the 4 foot going to the lake. So it's an odd kind of configuration that I'm not exactly sure how to make it work right without making it look goofy.
Have you given any thought to revegetating the shoreline?
No, I actually made an application, I believe it was 2 years ago, to try to do certain things to the shoreline, which was turned down by the DNR, and I've done nothing with it since. I was trying to, my retaining walls were starting to tip, and I was trying to find a way to make sure they don't, so they said I couldn't do it, so I'm leaving them the way they are.
If approved, do you know what permits you're going to need to rebuild this deck?
Land use and a building permit, possibly? I guess I don't know if you've checked with the building inspector.
Any other improvements planned?
The only other thing I plan to do is across the front of the house, I have an upper deck we talked about that was rebuilt. There's a lower deck, and again, to make it maintenance-free, I'm going to tear out the existing wood deck and pour a stamped concrete slab as part of this overall project.
And what kind of timetable is your construction?
Well, we've just talking about tonight because it depends on obviously your approval. We'd like to try to start some of this year and like to complete it by Memorial Day next year, if possible.
Any other committee questions? Go ahead.
You talked about rebuilding the permit is for rebuilding the deck, and then you also mentioned you're just going to resurface the deck. So are you rebuilding the base of it too, or?
Just
resurfacing it, but this is where it got started. I mean, it's sort of like, do I need to have a variance to be able to replace the shingles on my house or my boathouse that's not compliant? But they said that it's exceeding the 50%
value.
in a
No, we're just
non-compliant area.
redecking it in new handrails.
And I said to him, I said, I don't think we're gonna even exceed the 50% area because we're just putting different deck boards on. We're not gonna spend the money on the foundation and the framing because that's good. But we were coached to put it on this rooftop garage so that we didn't have any issues. And Randy feels if we get it approved, then someday, 20 years from now, he wants to do it, the next owner will be non-compliant, he will be compliant. Not that Randy's sick of getting rid of this, we're putting money in.
That's your question.
Basically, is resurfacing the deck still require a permit?
I didn't exactly talk to these people. Usually just replacing the deck boards does not require a permit. I thought there was something more that had to be done with the foundation.
We weren't sure what you
No,
were all
it's
planning
true.
to do when we were out there.
All we're doing is resurfacing, and obviously and then the railings would be Trex also, so it's all completely maintenance-free.
It was a little bumpy out there. I wouldn't say it was the smoothest deck I've ever been on.
It lays pretty flat. I mean, if you stand down and look at it, it dips just slightly to the lake.
I think we had seen some differences.
Some warping. There seems to be a
Why-
higher and lower
I
spots
guess I
on
thought
that.
that there would have to be something done to the foundation as well.
If we got to shim something when the boards are off, we'll have to shim it. But.
Any other committee questions?
Now that it's on the agenda, I mean, if we do need to replace the deck board or a joist member, we shouldn't have an issue.
If they approved it.
If they approve it, yes.
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Correspondence?
Yes, we have 2 letters submitted tonight. To whom it may concern, I have reviewed the plans concerning the variance hearing for Randy and Chris Henke for both the garage and deck, and I am in full support of you granting this variance. And that's signed by John R. Beal, B-E-A-L-E, of N2167 Chicago Point Road. And the second one, also in favor, submitted tonight, is to whom it may concern. Randy and Chris Henke are our neighbors on Silver Lake and have shared with both of us their desire to construct a 26 by 28 detached garage in addition to resurfacing the existing lower deck. We support both improvements and recommend approval of the variance. And that's signed by James R. and Marcia P. Sayer, S-A-E-R, at N2176 Chicago Point Road. And then we received several emails. The first one was received on September 14th from Chris Ross. I am replying with concerns about the variance requested by Randy and Chris Henke. My main concern is that it seems the Henkes are hoping to build a huge storage building. I can totally understand wanting to keep all your toys at your summer place. However, theirs is a very tiny piece of property situated on a dead-end road with too little room to even turn around. Other options for storage are certainly available. Currently, nearly all traffic that comes to this dead end are already using their driveway to turn around. If this would be allowed, all traffic that is not actually going into one of the properties would have to make a 300-foot backup in order to get out. What the Henkes may not understand, being new owners, and what the city must consider, is that what may be deeded to them, their driveway area, has been for as long as I can remember the turnaround area. It has been, in fact, the primary and only turnaround area. Maybe the county or township needs to consider doing eminent domain on this area and resolve this issue once and for all. At the very least, the county township should have a detailed survey done for the entire public road area so that some reasonable people will be able to make an educated decision about what to do about this situation. As I understand it, half of the road going down to the Point residence is public, but only 8 or so feet wide. I have also always understood that from the mailbox area at the circle to Mother's property, the road is considerably wider to the north than is currently used, about 10 feet or so. Again, a detailed survey paid for by the township or county should be done from the circle to the Point so that informed decisions can be made. And that's signed with regards from Christopher Ross, R-O-S-S. And then he sent us another email the same day that said, in regards to the requested zoning variance, another option to consider is that the road from the circle mailbox area to the end be given to the 4 property owners, the only one that need access to this area. The 4 property owners would be responsible for the entire drive. It would all be private. The township would no longer be responsible to maintain. A private no trespass could be posted. The current turnaround that exists would be effective. This also might provide more flexibility for these 4 property owners, something to think about. And again, that was from Christopher Ross. On September 13th, we heard from Joseph Peter Ross, to whom it may concern, regarding the Randy and Chris Henke variance to height and setback restrictions. It is our understanding the above subject property owners have requested a zoning variance on their property located at the dead end of Chicago Point Road. The request is to build what appears to be a very large storage structure, perhaps to store a large RV or pontoon boat. They are asking to build higher than allowed by law and closer to the road than allowed by law. We believe the heart of the law was defined with the current restrictions in place to preserve the ambiance, quaintness, and ease of use when building or expanding a cottage on Silver Lake. Frankly, building such a large structure at the dead end would simply destroy the ambiance and practical use of that area. Often we have used this area to play with the children and at night teach them about the bright stars and the clearing of the tall pine trees at the dead end. It has not only been convenient but necessary to use this space to get in and out of this area. Also, the road here is very narrow and cars entering the area are required to use these driveways to simply and safely turn around. And since the dead end sign fell over and was not replaced, too many cars are getting tangled at this area. Delivery trucks use our driveways to turn around, and if our driveways are full, they back up 200 feet or so to the turnaround down the way. Therefore, we respectfully object to granting the Henke garage variances and strongly suggest replacing the missing dead-end sign back up on the road near the Greniers cottage. We further humbly suggest the Henkes consider, as many of us do, renting or building an off-site indoor storage garage for their growing needs. Who knows, perhaps a few years down the line, they will require even more storage space when they discover our wonderful Waushara County snowmobile trails. We recommend preserving the variance restrictions and find building off-site would be the prudent choice at this time. Again, that was signed by Joseph Peter Ross. Same day, we received a letter from Mary T. Ross in regards to the variance at N2180 Chicago Point Road, Watoma, Wisconsin, of Randy and Chris Henke. I oppose the garage being built for these specific reasons. Cars are not able to turn around. Moreover, it would be too crowded to even attempt in a three-point turn. The proposed location of the Henke's garage would make it extremely difficult to enter and exit my property, considering my boats are being stored in my driveway. It is imperative that we have a turnaround at the dead end of Chicago Point Road. The Henke's garage being merely 10 feet from the right-of-way of Chicago Point Road will interfere with access to my cottage. The height of this garage will also block the view of the lake from my cottage. My cottage has been in my family since 1963. This garage would not only affect my guests, but all people attempting to turn around. There's just no room. Chicago Point stood for beauty and charm. Let's keep it that way. Signed, sincerely, Mary T. Ross. And on September 13th, we did receive an email from Bob Ross. Folks, I have been informed that there is a request for a variance for the property at 2180 Chicago Point Road. My family is the owner of property at 2181 Chicago Point Road. The properties at the end of Chicago Point Road are rather unique. The road dead ends at our properties. There is no turnaround. Access to the cottages is very restricted, and getting in and out is a challenge with just normal family use. It becomes pretty congested when there are guests. It is also difficult for the garbage truck to get to the property on a quiet day. Any further restriction of the area around the road would make getting in and out of the property difficult for us, as well as needed service vehicles. Thank you for your consideration, and that was signed Bob Ross. Then, as stated before, we did have an email from Mike Wenholtz, received September 13th. And regarding the Henke variance, the department agrees that hardship has not been demonstrated or appropriately reasoned to resurface or reconstruct the existing nonconforming deck. A screened porch and a deck already exist in the front lakeside of the home. As a nonconforming structure, the deck reconstruction being requested is not necessary and should not be allowed. And that was signed by Michael Wenholtz, DNR. And then on September 12th, I received a phone call from Gary Waleko, the town chairman, and he stated that the town board had discussed the Henke's variance request for the garage, and the town board was not in favor of the variance request for a reduced setback to the town road right-of-way because of the many problems they encounter at the dead end while trying to maintain the road. Oops, and that's it for correspondence.
The applicant have anything in rebuttal? No one registered?
No one registered. I would have a few comments.
Oh, staff comments?
I get to talk first. You get to talk last. That's the good news. When the board visited the property, they noted that there is an attached garage on the home, and there are two decks that meet the water setback on the lake side of the home. The existing attached garage could be added onto without the need for a variance, as stated earlier, and that the storage space appears to be a convenience only. The only existing non-conforming structure other than some retaining walls is the deck that the applicant is requesting to rebuild. And apparently that's a little bit in question because I'm not positive what you're doing anymore either. This is another variance where the applicant is asking for a relaxation of dimensional standards in the code. This one is slightly different in that the request actually constitutes two separate building projects. I think you kind of need to look at them separately. The first request is to construct a garage that will be located too close to a dead-end town road and that will exceed 18 feet in height on a sloping site. And the second is obviously to rebuild the non-conforming deck that is too close to the ordinary high water mark, and as far as I can tell, it's too close to the northerly side lot line. They're two separate projects with two distinct sets of circumstances. I think the garage situation is pretty clear. It is a request for a detached garage that's of substantial size on a steep slope. There is an attached garage on the home already, and the township is opposed to the location so close to the town road right-of-way on a dead-end road that does not have a turnaround area. The detached deck does not meet setbacks, including the water setback, and it is not necessary to have something that wide for access. There are already several decks on the home that provide more than reasonable use of the property, and a walkway for meeting code specifications should be able to be built over any obstructions in the yard that would connect the street side to the lake side of the home and then tie into the steps coming from the home and going to the lake. It's just a landing of this size does not seem to be necessary. And that's it for my comments.
Okay, now if the applicant has anything in rebuttal?
You know the Ross's house is up for sale, and has been for some time. As I said earlier, I absolutely agree with what some of what's said, in the fact that my driveway, which I don't know how I have an obligation to provide the turnaround for the complete neighborhood. I've never complained to anybody. People use it all the time. I've pushed people out of the snow. I've moved cars so people could turn around. So I guess that's a little frustrating. The 10-foot setback and where that would be is completely unusable for a turnaround. When you get to the edge of my driveway today, it drops off 20 feet into the Shannon property. That garage is in that drop-off. It's about 8 feet from the Shannon driveway and the retaining wall to the city right-of-way. Then it's another 10 feet back from there. That's not a piece of property that anybody could use for a turnaround ever in the future without completely regrading the whole end of the point. So thank you for your time.
Okay. Final one.
Can I make one comment?
Go ahead.
Something that should be also considered is if the detached garage is granted to be constructed, the driveway turnaround that is there right now will be identical. It's not changing. We're not using any of the driveway space to construct this garage. So when cars come down Chicago Point Road and need to turn around and pull into Randy's driveway, it'll be exactly the same as it is right now, other than on the far north side where it expands to get into the new detached garage, might have a little additional pitch. So there is plenty of the same amount of turnaround.
Okay. Next variance, Richard and Carol DeVerney, Racine, Wisconsin, made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2, and 58-823, paragraph C, paragraph 2 of the Waushare County Zoning Code to construct a 28 by 38 one-story single-family dwelling with a partially exposed basement, including a 12 by 24 sunroom, 6 by 28 deck, 17 by 28 second story, and a 12 by 24 attached garage, existing single-family dwelling and detached garage to be raised coming to within 11 feet of both the northerly and southerly side lot lines, 15-foot setback required, on an existing non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to lot width and square footage, in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land known as Lot 8 of Camp Revere Plat, being part of the southwest one quarter, the northeast one quarter, Section 2, Town of Springwater, Pine Lake, N7135 East Pine Lake Lane, which is a private road. The applicant present?
My name
State
is
your name,
Richard DeVerney. I'm the owner of the property.
Okay. Anything you care to tell us at this time?
Yeah. My wife and I are thinking about retiring, and our dream was to always retire up here. We've owned the property for 32 years, and previous to that, it was in my wife's family. Well, her great aunt owned it, and she passed away, and we enjoyed the property so much we decided to buy it. Unfortunately, it's not a year-round home. It's strictly a summer cottage. It's about 90 years old. It was built in the early 1920s. The footings are given away that hold the building up. The construction is very poor. Some of the walls are only 1.5 inches thick. The roof trusses, or the roof joists, or what do you call them? The thing that hold the roof up they're only 2x3s. I put a new roof on it twice in the last 32 years, and there's nothing to insulate because the walls aren't thick enough. I've had builders look at it and they say you might as well just tear it down and start over. There's nothing there to work with.
Okay. A few general questions then. Has there been a recent survey out there?
Yes, sir. I just had one done within the last couple weeks.
Okay. Sure of the road right-of-way and both the lot lines?
Pardon?
Are you sure of the road right-of-way and the lot lines?
Yes, they were able to find all the stakes right where they were supposed to be.
Okay. Talk to the neighbors about the project?
Yeah, they're in favor of it. They're thrilled. They think.
Okay. What type of foundation this going to be on?
It'll be a poured basement, full basement.
Okay. Exposed basement, will it be a walkout?
There wasn't a walkout planned. I don't even have a contractor because I didn't know if I'd be given a permit or not. It's on a slight hill, so part of it's going to be exposed, whether we like it or not.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be a walkout.
We hadn't even thought about it, really. I mean, we're going to have a couple of windows in the
Right.
basement, but
That's what your plans show, is that
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
partially exposed,
right,
basically?
right. That's where we're at now.
How far above the existing grade are you going to be? You're going to be bringing in a lot of fill?
No. In fact, I'll be bringing in any fill. I'm not going to change the grade any. In fact, the back of the cottage is sunk into the ground. The wood is below the ground level. It's rotting.
Okay. And what's the finished height of the new home going to be then?
I don't even know. 20 some feet, I would say. It's going to be a 1-story with 2 bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom. 8, 16, 22 feet above the ground level.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No. Oh, yeah, a new septic system will go in, and a
Okay.
new well.
Plenty of room for parking there?
Yes, sir. I own that property, and I own the lot behind it, too.
Okay. Have you considered revegetating the shoreline?
No, I didn't have any plans. It's all natural right now. Plenty of trees, plenty of wild flowers and grasses. No weeds. My wife loves it.
We noticed a deck along the shoreline near the boathouse. Are you planning on removing that?
No, we put that in, we got a variance for that in 1988. Spend a lot of time down there.
Okay. What are the hardships or unique property limitations that would support this variance?
The lot is approximately 50 feet wide, and it's, to build anything on it with 15-foot side setbacks would be on just under 20 feet. The house would have to be less than 20 feet wide, which doesn't leave a lot of room for anything.
And your construction timetable?
If we were granted a variance, we'll get a a contractor. We haven't decided, we haven't picked one yet, but we've got estimates from 2 already, and we got 3 more estimates coming in. And if we're granted a variance, and as soon as we can get it emptied out, we'll have it torn down, and somebody will start building for us.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
Just the garage that you removed from there, it's on the back lot now. Any plans for that?
Well, it's not a garage, it's really a shed. It's got a wooden floor in it. I can move it.
If you're gonna put your septic back there, is that gonna be a problem where you
No.
have the shed there now?
No, there's plenty of room for the septic. I moved it back there. It was on the front lot, and I just pulled it back there with my skid steer.
Is the septic field gonna be on that back lot where
Yes,
the
it will.
shed is?
It will be on the back lot.
Is that a problem where the shed is?
No. If it is, I can move it again. It's not that big. I call it my garage because I store tools and lawnmower in there and bicycles. Yeah. Oh, those were under the floor, supporting the floor. Just.
It was we were curious.
We were
about it.
baffled.
Oh, you saw that, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it was sitting on. You know, it was nice and dry under there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's all. I took out a lot of the blocks. I had blocks under it to support it.
Okay, no other questions? Thank you. You have a chair.
Yeah, we usually have both doors open till our public meeting's done. Thanks. Thanks.
Any correspondence?
I don't know if we have correspondence. I have a couple of updates. We did receive a copy of the survey from Mark Karlovsky. I think it was yesterday. And it shows that the lot is just slightly under 50 feet wide. The good news is that you're still really close to 11 feet, or close enough, you know, that the variance application as written is fine. You'd be 11 feet on one side and 10.88 on the other. And our code does allow for a 6-inch rounding factor. The bad news is I think you're going to have Mr. Karlovsky out there, if they approve it, to site the home, because you don't have much to play with, you know, so you're going to have to make sure that when your foundation is poured, it's really accurate. You know. Okay. You know, just to make you aware of that, you know, you have about that much room to play with. So, but that's the good news. I do think the shed is in way of the septic system, and you should have a permit when you move a building, even though it's still on your property. We can put it on the permit for the home. That. And then we have a note from today that Steve Rockwood called, and he had just been out there and completed the soil evaluation. And the site is suitable for a conventional septic system, which will be installed on the easterly portion of the property or east of the private road, the back lot. And no one registered to speak in favor or in opposition.
Staff comments?
When the board visited the property, they noted that the existing cottage is closer to the ordinary high water mark than the proposed home will be. The old garage has been relocated across the private road and may need a permit authorizing this relocation. Erosion control measures should be instituted on this lot. There is a slope there going towards the lake. There is a non-conforming deck along with a wooden retaining wall near the shoreline and the boathouse, and that vegetation is relatively good but could be enhanced in the area of the boathouse if the deck were to be removed. This variance appears quite straightforward. It's a request to build a new home on a non-conforming lot. In this case, it's one that doesn't meet either the minimum square footage requirements, and it is also not wide enough to be a buildable lot. I think they did a good job, the applicants did a good job of fitting an average size home on here, and it meets all the setbacks except the side yard. It will provide for a new septic system across the private road, and there's parking available on this lot as well as across the private road, but not on the septic system. So that's it for my comments.
Okay, the applicant have anything else in rebuttal or Okay. That closes the public hearing. We'll go into our business meeting then, at which time we will vote on the applications.